Something absolutely terrible happened to me recently. I'm deeply upset. I sat down of an evening with my lentils and a hot mug of Bovril to watch the informed and intelligent opinion of my favourite YouTuber, and what happened? I got roasted right in my seat. So, Nico Leonard, this means war. Prepare to be slapped by the glove of truth. It all started with a video titled What Your Watch Says About You. Everything was fun and games until Nico reached Grand Seiko. That's when it happened.
I was enjoying my evening meal of lentils and Bovril so lovingly prepared by my wife when out of the blue I was attacked right there in my Birkenstocks. It was like his finger pointed right out of the television and jabbed me personally in the eye.
Can you believe it? Here I am minding my own business when Nico sticks a lemon up my butt, wraps me in tin foil, pops me in a preheated oven, and roasts me on gas mark hate.
People that wear Grand Seiko are very proud, so we can't really offend them that much.
How dare he call me proud? I have a degree in civil engineering and a bronze swimming certificate. I'll tell you who should be proud though. One Kitaro, Hattori. Born on the 21st of November 1860, Hattori's first 12 years of life existed under Wadoke, a Japanese timekeeping system based on the lunar cycle of 12. That meant there were only 12 hours in a day, which made Western clocks as useful as a waterproof tampon. Imagine hitting 12 years old, entering that period in your life where nothing makes sense. You hate yourself more than anything, and the teacher keeps making you stand up in front of everyone at the worst time, and then they go and change how many hours there are in the day. For Hattori, he managed to turn this into a bit of a distraction. He nerded out on Swiss watchmaking, loved the greats like Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin, and so he decided he wanted to become the best watchmaker in all of Japan. Tell you who he didn't look up to. Rolex. Because when Hattori created Seikosha in 1881, Rolex founder Hans Wilsdorf was too busy crowning. Seikosha literally means house of success. That's a bold move. What does Rolex mean? Nothing. Wilsdorf claims a genie whispered it in his ear. Man's tripping balls on the early morning commute. That should tell you all you need to know. Despite having to make it up all by himself, and despite his factory burning to the ground after an earthquake in 1923, Hattori absolutely smashed it. He literally rebuilt the factory and had a new watch out before 1924 was over, less than a year after it had all been turned to rubble. You know how you can literally set the time to a Japanese train. They're so precisely on time that the average delay over an entire year is more accurate than a Rolex watch by a factor of 10. Well, yeah, it was Seiko that got them there. They kitted out the Japanese rail system with clocks and watches to keep them running to the second. These days, the trains in Japan are so punctual that if they're late, they will issue you a certificate to show your boss to prove you're not making it up.
These guys know everything. They study everything to the finest details. Basically, what I'm trying to say here, Grand Seiko is a cult.
Then he outright accused me of being obsessive over details. Me? I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my life. I haven't been this angry since Mother rearranged my minidisc collection in alphabetical order when I had clearly established a system of genre and release, ordered from least to most progressive.
Between you and me, I think it makes sense for a watchmaker to be obsessive over the details, and whether you notice them or not is really down to how close to maximum enjoyment you want to get out of something. You could say a Grand Seiko owner is the kind of person that licks the lid of a yogurt pot, where a Rolex owner would just throw it away. Kitaro Hattori established such an obsession over detail in Seiko that in order to create the most accurate mechanical watch in the world, the company literally created two more companies to lock horns in perpetual competition. One was called Daini Seikosha and the other Suwa Seikosha. They each chose to give their watches a unique name. Daini chose King Seiko and Suwa chose Grand Seiko. Both teams would each make a watch, and after each round, the knowledge gleaned by the winner would be shared with the other. The first Seiko watches entered into Swiss Observatory accuracy competitions didn't fare particularly well, however, falling short of the standard that had been set at the factory. The engineers at Seiko realized that this was because the movements were becoming magnetized in the flight to Switzerland. So they rebuilt them from anti-magnetic materials and even experimented with flight paths to get the best result. Both Seiko and Rolex have sold watches that were chronometer certified by an observatory, Seiko totaling 226 and Rolex just 136, but it was only Seiko that ever actually won a competition. In fact, Seiko manufactured the most accurate mechanical movement to ever win at a Swiss accuracy competition before the whole thing was shut down because of quartz.
And that's when he went too far.
Do you mean it?
The whole Grand Seiko cult is saying that Grand Seiko is finishing watches better than Rolex. Now let me tell you one thing, Grand Seiko has never finished me some. AP has, every night.
I mean, I hate to break it to you, but when you've got to bring in AP to dig Rolex out of a finishing hole against the Japanese, you know you're in trouble. Fact is, between Rolex and Grand Seiko, there's only one watchmaker here that the legend of finishing Philippe Dufour has ever given the nod to. And I'll give you a clue. It doesn't rhyme with Schmolex. For now, just ignore the fact that Dufour himself wears a Rolex. Multiple Rolexes. Rolex was created by a German guy in England to make money importing Swiss movements. Hans Wilsdorf wasn't interested in making a high-quality product. He wanted to pile them high and sell them cheap. He couldn't sell them in Switzerland because Switzerland already had good watches. So he sold them in England, where all the watches were a bit, crap. It can't really be much of a surprise that the Japanese are incredible at finishing watches. If you were to pitch a nation known for precision raking and synchronized walking against one famous for cheese and chocolate, which do you honestly think would come out on top in a finishing competition? I mean, the Japanese don't even do puzzles like we do. For a real challenge, they glue smashed pots back together. It's not just the innate fascination with detail and precision that gives the Japanese the edge. Watchmaking is a relatively new pastime in Japan because of the recent adoption of the Gregorian calendar, and so it's also from a cultural hunger for education that the industry has drawn. It's such an intense process that Grand Seiko even borrowed Dufour's method of polishing, right down to using the exact same type of wood he uses to polish. Until Grand Seiko found its own source, Dufour used to gather the wood from the forest behind his house and send it out to them. In fact, the person in charge of polishing at the prestigious Grand Seiko micro artist studio, Yoshifumi Kobayashi, even has a little framed picture of Dufour on his desk. So I'm afraid you're wrong, Nico. Rolex can't touch the levels Grand Seiko is capable of.
You're gonna be home late for dinner, and that means that your wife is gonna beat you again!
Okay, so you're not wrong about everything.
Can I go now? Hello? Hello? Is there anyone there?
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and go check out Nico's video in the description below too. Tell me what you think of the Rolex versus Grand Seiko debate down in the comments, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this too. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.